Welcome to the Credit Repair Show with your host, the Credit Doctor, Angelo McCutcheon, coming to you with another YouTube video on the credit repair process. I want to thank all of my followers, all of my subscribers who are following me on this journey as we give you information on how you can repair your credit, information on how you can deal with debt collectors, the credit bureaus, dispute letters. I mean, we're giving you everything. So when you become part of the credit repair team, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, make sure you hit the like button as well. So every time we go live, you will definitely get the notification and you can get these tips to help you build your credit, because you know what our motto is: you do not have to live with bad credit. There is something you can do about it. And that's what these credit repair shows are all about, giving you the information to at least put you on a journey to cleaning up your credit. I want to thank all those who constantly send emails of encouragement and say you really like the information, and I appreciate that. And as long as you guys are using it and keep following us, we're going to keep bringing you information to help you out. Now, again, let me say, I am not a lawyer, so any advice I give you is not legal advice. I don't give out legal advice. If you need legal advice in any area of credit, then we ask you to seek out a consumer attorney. All the information we give you is for educational purposes only. Now, with that said, today we're going to talk about the responsibilities of TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And when we talk about the responsibilities, we're talking about what does the law, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, say that they must basically do when it comes to putting information on your credit report. Because as we said in the description, they have files of over 200 million Americans, credit files of over 200 million Americans, and they actually give out over 2 billion credit reports a year. Constantly, I should actually say. So evidently there's going to be some errors and there's going to be some mistakes, whether it be clerical errors, just simple mistakes, or whether they're just putting outright inaccurate information on your credit report. But the law gives you a remedy. The law says you can dispute anything that you feel is inaccurate, incomplete, outdated. You have the right to dispute that information and require them to do an investigation to show that either that information is valid or is not valid, and they have to change it or they have to delete it from your credit report. Now, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which you can look into those laws, you can just Google the Fair Credit Reporting Act and get the laws and what they actually say. And of course, they basically let you know what creditors can and cannot do, what the debt collectors can and cannot do, what the credit bureaus can and what they cannot do. And of course, what you as a consumer can do and what you cannot do. But we're focusing on the three major credit bureaus. Now, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA, basically states that, and this actually goes for debt collectors as well, that the credit bureaus must do a reasonable investigation when it comes to information being reported on your credit report. In other words, they just can't accept, or they're not supposed to just accept what lenders say that information is. If you see something that's inaccurate, you have the right to dispute that. And the law says that the credit, whoever you dispute it with, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, all three, have to do a reasonable investigations, meaning that they got to go back to the lender and ask the lender to provide documents basically to prove what they're saying about your account to be accurate. And if they can't provide these documents, which in most cases some of them can't, right, then it must be deleted because they cannot report inaccurate information. Now, you guys hear me say this all the time, that one of the laws that the Fair Credit Report talks about is anything that goes on your credit report, it has to be 100% accurate. They cannot report inaccurate information, unverifiable information, incomplete or outdated information on your credit report. Now, we know that they do that because the study shows that 79% of credit reports contain errors. So that's a lot. And remember, if billions of credit report is going through companies that maybe hire 3, 4, 500 people to work within their company and billions of reports is going through, yeah, they're bound to make some mistakes, because you got to remember, these people who work for these credit bureaus are basically on a time sensitive, whatever you might call that, right, to get things done. So they got to move everything through. They got to verify, they got to read, they got to look at, and they got to, make sure it gets reported accurate, but they have a time frame in order to do it. So a lot of times the human error comes in place. Humans make errors. They make a lot of errors. And when you're dealing with that much information on a consistent basis, yeah, they're going to have errors written within them. And so the credit bureau, even though they have all this information and we know they're going to make mistakes, the law still expects them to do a thorough investigation, or a reinvestigation, it should be, when you, the consumer, point out what you believe to be inaccurate information. So if you claiming that a lender is saying that you have a balance with them of $500 and you know it to be maybe $450, right? Then you have the right to dispute that information. Whoever you dispute it with, or if you dispute it with all three credit bureaus, they have to contact that lender, and that lender has to provide information. And lender can't just say, well, is this person's name? Do they live at this address? Yeah, everything is correct. And then the credit bureau comes back to you, say, hey, we verified the information. No, that's not how it works. They got to provide documents that it is $500, a $500 balance, and not a $450 balance. And then the credit bureau should be providing you as a consumer with that documentation. This is what we got from the lender saying this information is correct. And then you can compare that with what you have and say, hey, it's either, okay, I made a mistake, it is correct, or no, based on my files or what I have on paper, it's not correct. I only owe them $450. See, when you're doing a proper investigation, credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, that's basically how you begin to solve issues of discrepancies. Speaking with the lender, getting documentations from the lender, sending copies of those documentations to the consumer, and then the consumer could compare that with their records and say, hey, it is or it isn't. But that's not how they do it. And we all know the credit bureaus don't do like that. How many of you guys have actually gotten documentation from the credit bureau that, not that, they're just sending you a credit report? They'll definitely send you a credit report. But how many of them have sent, along with your credit report, documentation that they got from the lender to prove that the debt was being reported accurately? And I'll be the first one to raise my hand. I never got that from any one of the credit bureaus when I was cleaning up my credit. Never got it. But that would be a proper way of doing it. Now, of course, the law, Fair Credit Reporting Act, says they have to do a thorough investigation or a reinvestigation. And the reason why I keep saying reinvestigation is because when a lender first report your information to the credit bureaus should be doing an investigation before they just put it on your credit report. They should be doing an investigation. They should contact you and say, hey, this lender is reporting, wants us to report this information on your credit report. Is this information accurate? But of course, they don't do that, because you got to remember, the credit bureau's clients is not you, the consumer. The credit bureau's clients is the lenders, is the debt collectors, because they're the ones who pay the credit bureau to see your credit report. And the bulk of their money comes from creditors who want to see your credit report. So they cater to the creditors. And so typically the creditors send them information that they believe is accurate information going on your credit report. Instead of the credit bureaus contacting you about that, they just throw it on your credit report. And then it's up to you to look at it and then say whether it's accurate or not. Or here's another suggestion, credit bureaus. How about if you're going to put it on their credit report anyway, how about then sending the consumer an updated credit report free of charge to show that you made some changes on their credit report that can particularly be damaging if it's negative items. And then the consumer then can deal with that immediately instead of not knowing that this information has been on there for months and sometimes years before they recognize that, hey, they're reporting inaccurate information. So again, the credit bureaus, the Fair Credit Reporting Act says that they have to do a thorough investigation, or I'm sorry, have to do a reasonable investigation. Now that leaves that up to interpretation. The credit bureau can say, well, reasonable to us is just, hey, if the lender tells us that this is what it is, we look at it and we believe that to be it, then we just gonna put it on the credit report. But I don't think that's what the Fair Credit Reporting Act was aiming for when they said a reasonable explanation. And that is why a lot of times the credit bureaus are constantly being sued for not fixing certain information after it's been disputed. That's why they're reporting, and I'm only referring to inaccurate information, outdated information, incomplete information. If it's 100% accurate, then I'm not talking about that. I'm only talking about information on a consumer's credit report that is inaccurate, where they believe it to be inaccurate, incomplete, or outdated. And you have the right, consumer, if you're watching this video on the live, if you're watching it as a replay, first of all, I'm going to say hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. So every time we do go live, you will get the notification. And we will be going live a lot. So we want you guys to get this information. We want you guys to have this information. We want you guys to know what your rights are. And even though we can't give you everything, at least we can put you on a journey to getting that credit fixed, getting that credit repaired. And so the Fair Credit Reporting Act, again, requires them to do an investigation, a reasonable reinvestigation. So you have the right, you as a consumer, if you see information, that's why it's important that you guys should be pulling your credit reports at least minimum twice a year, But constantly, if you're an avid person who's really trying to fix your credit, every month if you can, be looking at your credit report for inaccurate information, for new negative information that may pop up and may not be accurate. And then you will have the right to dispute that information. And then they would have to do a reasonable investigation. And again, we believe that to be getting going to the lender and getting documentations to prove what they say to be accurate, and then sending you a copy of that update information. Now, what happens is sometimes, and this happens a lot with Capital One, First Premier Bank, and a few other lenders, right? They will send you when you dispute with the credit bureaus and the credit bureaus go to the lender about your dispute, they will send you a letter requesting that you give them more information to show that the debt is inaccurate. They want you to give them, the lender, more information proving that. And again, the Fair Credit Report allows them to request that. But in reality, you're not the one that put that information on your credit report. They should be providing you with accurate information. Now, some like Capital One will send, your old bills and things like that, bill statements and stuff like that, saying that, hey, this is what we have. But if it doesn't line up with what you have, and then if we see that that's not being reported with the credit bureaus, then yes, you have the right to dispute that information and write back to them and say, hey, this is not accurate information, and I want you guys to fix it, or I want to delete it from your credit report. So you should be disputing with the credit bureaus. Definitely always dispute with the credit bureaus first, or your first letters go into them. But at the same time, their second letters can go right to the lender. So not only is the lender receiving information from the credit bureaus, but they also now receive your letter that you're stating that this information is incorrect. That this information is incorrect. So you have the right to do that. You have the right to dispute that information. Don't just allow them to put anything on your credit report and you feel that is inaccurate or incomplete or outdated. Don't just allow them to let that stay on there, but fight that information. You have the right to do that. So again, I hope the information that we're giving you as we wind this up is very helpful to you guys. Make sure you comment if you can, like the video, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe, of course. And if you're interested in any other product that we may have, we also have business credit that we do also, and all that will be in the description. Links to our YouTube business page where you can learn about how to build business credit and all that good stuff. You want to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, all that will be in the description. You want to email us, let us know how we doing, or you have some questions or topics you would like for us to talk about, please email it or put it in the comment. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank everyone for their support. And as we often say, stay blessed. Whatever you do, stay blessed. But what's even more important is that you are a blessing. And with that, we say